Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here for the return of what is now the 50NL coaching show with Christoph. Are we beating 50NL? Are we the king of the 50NL castle? How's it going, my friend?
Hi Pete, it's going well, life's good. Bridge season has restarted, so I was telling you off stream I play a little bit less, but I had a big upswing and then a kind of a big downswing 50 NLY, so I'm roughly even. Haven't played well recently, but it's due to me being shit. I don't feel like 50 NL is so much difference from 25 NL, but we're gonna find out, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the good old sit in, sit out live play, no delay, everything in real time. Braving
you don't have
the
to scream to everyone that it's no delay.
guys,
I mean,
guys, get in the pool and snipe him. Yeah, no. This is purely
with delay.
educational.
There is a delay. This is a 30 minutes delay.
Yeah, this was hours ago we started recording, so you guys are just catching up now. So let's jump in. Let's see how we can do this, and we will sit and sit out. I just want to get a feel for your thought process. I hear what you're saying about the rustiness. Poker is that sort of game where when it's not center stage in your life, you can very quickly feel like you have no idea what you're doing, even if it's just been a week or two. It's just the nature of the beast. I've had that struggle for many years where I feel like I've just not been at my best because I've never been a high volume player for many years. So yeah,
I wouldn't call it an issue. It's just I feel I need to accept it. Like I think if I don't accept it is when I start being rubbish because of it. Just accept that this is a state. Okay, this guy 3-bets a lot. We have to 4-bet, and I go through phases about whether I should call a show or not. I'm currently in a phase where I do call shows. I think it's roughly the same. So now I call, but I'm not sure that's right. But this guy 3-bets a lot, seems pretty aggressive. I'm calling. And so when he has kings, I'm not even sure. Was it better to call or was it actually much better to fold? I don't even know for sure. That folding was so much better, given that I already put that much.
So the first thing to say is that you didn't actually put that much in the pot because your 4-bet was, well, the open was small, the 3-bet was small, the 4-bet was relatively small. The smaller that 4-bet is, the worse your pot odds are going to be when you face jam, and the more acceptable 4-bet fold is going to be as a line. So we can start by saying that 4-bet folding is more acceptable in these early position spots with this bigger SPR than it is in, like, I don't know, button small blind where there's 24 big blinds in the middle by the time that someone's 4-bet, right? Now, it's always good to know the base EV at equilibrium. Like, it always comes down to what should your hand do in theory and what's different in the real world. The thing that's different in the real world when I'm loading up the sim, I think it's pretty break even to call ace king off here, by the way, but I'll look up the sim just in case. But the thing that's different in the real world is that they're probably not flatting aces and kings as often as they should to the 4-bet. They're probably shoving them more, and they're probably shoving queens and ace king a bit more as well. But I think if I was to guess at how the range is going to change, it's actually going to have more pocket aces and pocket kings in it for going all in. This is not far from a spot where hijack is just meant to slow play everything against the 4-bet and not really play much jam in position at all, because it's getting so hyper polarized, right? In early position, they're really not meant to do a ton of jam here. So in this sim, it's 19, not 16 or whatever that they're raising to, and the only shoves are a tiny bit of aces. Aces is almost pure calling, and then there's like ace king is mixing, queens is never shoving, kings is the hand that's shoving most of the time, but not always. It's actually doing a bit of slow play. So I'd say kings is getting shoved all the time, aces is getting shoved more than in equilibrium, and your hand is completely indifferent at that SPR in equilibrium. So I think you need to lean fold, unfortunately, in these early position spots with ace king off here. You're just going to run into the stuff that dominates you a bit more than you are in theory.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, I wasn't completely sure.
In late position, you're going to have to get it in because the SPR is different, and also they're going to have more combos of ace king shoving. They're going to shove ace king all the time, right? Or they're going to shove queens a lot now, or they're going to shove jacks sometimes. So late position's different kettle of fish, but early position is just not a spot we need to be going for bet call with very many combos at all. Mostly it's going to be kings and aces when we want to actually do that. Because queens, like, another thing I would say is that queens and ace king off really don't have to 4-bet either. Like, you can call and it's completely fine. You don't need to 4-bet. And, like, yes, the guy might be 3-betting a lot, but it's still early position and it might not be a huge sample. I think it's still okay to call pre if you want to here. But 4-bet's also fine.
Okay. Not the greatest start.
Not the best start, but the only way is up now. Oh, wait, that's not how it works in poker. We could easily lose 9 buy-ins more. Guys,
I hate this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to get rid of these things?
Your smoking addiction? Well, there's an NHS stop smoking service you can phone these days.
Thanks for your help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna open that against this guy.
Can also 4-bet jam the ace king in this spot, 100 big blinds. Maybe. I don't know. Like, early position, like tiny SBR, huge SBR. I'm not a huge fan.
I think this, I don't know, I think this is close to the border. I'm gonna open, but maybe it's not an open. And I wish it didn't open.
I have an announcement to make in a minute. Okay, I'll make my announcement now. I am looking for a student to take part in season 3 of Coaching Journeys. If you remember the From Losing to Cruising, From Stalling to Mauling series, everyone's favorite Carrot Corner content. We are going to recruit someone for season 3. Now, this isn't to replace you, Christoph, because you were the live stream student. This is for the recorded video format content for season 3. Basically, I've run out of YouTube ideas and I'm ready to just accept that it's time to do season 3 of Coaching Journeys. So if you're interested, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my god, I want to be the next Mark, I want to be the next Jess, send an email to pete@carrotcorner.com or hit me up on Discord as carrots with a Z 9127 and tell me why it should be you. Don't waste our time. Don't be like, hey bro, I want to do show, yeah? Like, if you send that, you have a 0% chance of being selected. Like, don't kid yourself, man. Like, if you want to be on this show, stand up straight with your shoulders back, as Peterson would say.
Are you done?
Well, you know why. Yeah, I'm done.
This hand, I really wanted to 4-bet, but I'm not sure if it was a good idea or not.
What happened?
So, raise from UTG, call, squeeze, and I had king 10 on the button, and this guy had a very high 3-bet percentage.
I mean, look at his stack size, first and foremost. Like, he's probably just squeeze getting in most of his range that he's squeezing. Unless that happened after. Oh, is that the final stack size? Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, no, it's a huge deviation to cold 4-bet king 10 offsuit here. Like, it's considerably losing in theory. I don't see a reason for it. I don't think fold equity's higher. I think you're maybe overreacting to like the 3-bet stats over these small samples. They can fluctuate quite a lot. I wouldn't deviate to that extent. I would first off learn what hands can cold 4-bet, and they'll be higher caliber hands, right? And then like,
and which ones are the bluffs here?
Well, because it's a spot where you're folding 95, 97% of your range, the bluffs are like ace queen suited, ace king by this point. Stuff like that.
Ace kings are the bluff, okay.
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, it's misleading to call something a bluff pre-flop because equities run so close together, but yeah, ace king kind of functions more as a bluff than as a value 4-bet in that spot. What's up, Sam Delamy coming on the show?
So we are using the famous 1BB bet.
Akshar approved.
And it worked.
It's such a hack at low stakes to just open small blind wider than you should and smaller than you should, or small, and then just bet one big blind, and like they have to defend 92% of range in certain flop textures and stuff. It's such a ridiculous exploit. It really is so dirty. It's like taking candy from babies. It's like that feeling I get when my son really wants the remote control for the TV or like my phone or something, and he grabs it, and I'm like, no, you can't have that because that's adult technology. And then like when you take it off him, you always feel a bit bad, right? Because babies are so weak. It's kind of like that's not really fair. That's how I feel when you do that. You ever get that with your kids? You feel guilty for like being stronger than them and taking stuff off them, Christoph? Or is that just
No.
me? That's just me. Right. Okay.
Just I'm just a mean French guy.
You really are. Yeah.
Queen 8, good question. Against 2, I've got no clue. I haven't studied 2. I feel I should call. I'm not sure, but I feel I should call. And I have, is this a double gut shot? Is this how you call it? Am I supposed to bet? Now I'm completely lost. I don't want to be check raised, so maybe I should only check. It's really tempting to bet. But I feel that check is better. But I'm not sure. And now I have to check. And if he bets, I think I should fold. I don't see this guy bluffing. I might be wrong. Fuck. I think you're gonna kill me for folding, but I really don't think I should. I mean, he raised pre-flop, and now he's betting. What can he bet? I'm gonna.
So check all the way to the river. Yeah, I mean, first off, pre-flop, you definitely want to be in the hand. You can 3-bet small with Queen 8. I don't think it's like such a winning call that you'd squander it. The first thing to understand about blind versus blind against fish is that they're not 4-betting anywhere near enough when you 3-bet. And they're either like folding pre or calling and then like not playing that well after the flop. So these hands that have a positive but not really high call EV can also be used as like 3-bets for fold equity. So 3-betting to like 6 big blinds here is also okay. I have no issue with it with a hand as bad as Queen 8. I wouldn't do it with Queen 8 suited because Queen 8 suited is gonna suck. If you're deep, you can because they 4-bet so infrequently that you can actually do that. But at this stack depth, I wouldn't use a hand that faces jam and then is like sacrificing a bit more EV by raise folding. But 3-bet's okay with this hand at this stack depth for sure, and it should be on your radar. That's the first thing to say. This is nowhere near a fold. Fold would be disastrous. You're getting 3-1, and you're in position against the fish, like with 2 cards that are relatively medium. I mean, you just have to be involved. On the flop, I don't mind check. I think stabbing's going to do well on a lot of boards. This one maybe not quite so well. I don't mind check on turn. I think it's not clear that you're getting... I mean, you're maybe getting like 6s and 4s and stuff to fold, like better hands than yours, but maybe not, and there are not that many combos, and King X is probably just going to call with the gutter. So I think you should check turn. I think that's fine. On river, I mean, like, if you look at data for check bet with a fish, it's very overbluffed. Now, this texture is going to be less overbluffed because it's a bit easier just to have like a random jack. But the thing is, he's checked all the way to the river. Like, if he had a good value hand, he's not usually taking the line of checking all the way to the river, then just betting half pot. He might well have an ace, and he might well just have a jack. And sometimes he'll beat you with 9s, and sometimes he'll have 5s and just submerge. But very often he'll just have like 7 high. He'll just have 7-6 offsuit or something like that. So when you're getting 4-1 or 3-1, sorry, on the river, 25%, and the range has not bet yet, and it started off as 50% of the hands in the deck, you do have to call. Like, you're only thinking about the cognitive decision of whether he's going to choose to bluff or not. What about the fact that he lands on the river with mostly just bad hands? He doesn't have to choose to bluff those bad hands very often before he's bluffing more than 25% of the time. That's how I try to think about it. It's not just about, it's not a binary question of like, does he bluff, does he not bluff? Fish do bluff at some frequency, and the more trash they land with compared to good hands, the more they're going to overbluff. And what you're facing is a safe sizing. If you look at data, I'll actually read it out to you, right? And for chat's benefit, because this will be super valuable. If you face the line of check, check, bet, blind versus blind, I have data for this exact node right here at my fingertips because I'm a magical data wizard these days. Only I can't use the software that I get it from. So we go to out of position pre-flop razor, blind versus blind, and then we look at the line check, check, bet, and we ask the database, how often are they bluffing for half pot in this line? And the answer is they are bluffing 28% of the time, right? So it's not as overbluffed as other nodes where it goes check, check, bet. Like if they're the pre-flop caller, for example, it's going to be way more overbluffed, but it's still overbluffed. And it's a min open pre that's going to affect the data as well. It's this very small open, and it's definitely a fish. Like this database I'm looking at, it's actually regs here. Sorry, I'm not even looking at fish, I'm looking at regs. Regs are overbluffing this line. Fish are way overbluffing this line. All the lines that regs overbluff for like half pot or third pot or whatever, fish overbluff them more when they're scattered aggression lines. So I don't have the fish data to hand because I've not set up the player alias for the fish on this node, but I would wager it's in the 30s that they're bluffing here, if we could see it. Now, the texture's not... Texture's a factor too, so texture can be bad, average, good. This texture's somewhat bad, but because it's blind versus blind and fish opens so wide in this spot for min, there are all these combos of like 9-7 off there that shouldn't be there sometimes. They merge, they bet low pocket pairs. I would call the river. I think you need a very good reason.
Your example wasn't the best, my friend.
What do you mean?
9-7.
Why not? Oh, it's a straight. Okay, 9-6. Fair enough.
I don't know. I heard everything you said, and based on everything you said, I'm still not convinced because I don't know. Like I need to win what? How often do I need to win for this call to be good?
25% to break even.
Yeah, but you don't take into account the rake.
Okay, it's a few percent, right? Let's say a little bit more then.
And you just said it was bluff 27% by
regs. By regs.
I got that, but the texture I think make it that I might be wrong, but my gut feeling is that okay, maybe that was losing money not to call, but I don't feel it's a huge blunder based on everything you said. Tell me if you strongly disagree.
I disagree because I think blind versus blind recreational player, like there's just so many combos of like king 5 off and stuff like that in their range as well. Yeah, I just would be surprised if you're not winning in the 30s against the recreational that takes this line. The Only Toast says, my data on fish say they bluff this over 50% of the time. That's extreme. I wouldn't think it would be that high, but like maybe, yeah, maybe it is just that over. It's a very, very overbluffed line from recreational players. So yes, the texture swings it back the other way a bit, but the line in MDA, what we see time and time again, is that the line and the starting configuration and the range width is far more important than the texture. Far more important to the data. Because their range starts so wide and they're so unlikely to play value this way, and there's so little resistance to bluffing this way. So I do strongly disagree. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be intrigued to see what my database would say if I filtered it for fish. Like if I filtered it for players that have the bigger gap between VPIP PFR.
Is this how you categorize a fish?
Bigger gap between VPIP and PFR, yeah.
I'm supposed to talk, right?
Always helps the format.
Why is your stuff so laggy? Is my stuff laggy? I don't know. I'm just gonna call it was a small bet. And now if they overbet, it's gonna be very tricky. And on this structure, they might with lots of stuff. They don't. King is not great for me. And it's gonna be a bit annoying against the bet. I feel it's the best card for them to bluff, but they've got a lot of kings, but I think I should call for the same reasons as before. Great.
Okay, let's have a look at that one. Okay, so I was trying to look at the stream and see if it was lagging there, so I missed how we got to the river. Open, call. You're not 3-betting ace-jack suited against button?
I think I was thinking about it, debating it, and I decided not this time. I think in my head it's a mixed.
I think it's a pure 3-bet. In theory, I think it's too good to be a mix, but I would always 3-bet it because you just want to play bigger pots with big hands against weaker players in general. They're not 4-betting enough, they're flatting and not playing that well. You just want to be in the 3-bet node, I think, with ace-jack suited.
I tend to default to that when I'm in position, but out of position a bit less. Maybe that's
no, that's right. But out of position, when your hand is so big, you still want to default to that. Like the big cards are just overperforming against pool in a 3-bet pot.
So I just checked. Ace-jack suited is a pure call
Against button?
against button.
What sim are you
Pure
using?
call.
That's really weird.
I'm using GG Russian cash 100 BB dipped, raise 2, button, big blind, ace-jack suited. It's a pure call.
Okay, that's a bit weird. My sim says it's... What is a pure call? Must be a rake thing. I mean, this hand is usually pure 3-bet or high frequency 3-bet. Anyway, the EV is the same. I'd still 3-bet against a human population. I think the hand's too good.
Okay.
As long as the EVs are the same, like you're in an okay spot to start deviating. It's like 0.02.
No, I agree. It's very similar. Yeah. Okay.
But that's surprising. That must be a rake thing. As played, we check call flop. Turn goes check check, and they bet river half pot. Yeah, really overbluff line. Texture's bad for it. Like texture means you won't do as well as normal, but the baseline EV of this call is again just so high that you definitely want to call. There's going to be like some... The thing is that humans are not very good at bluffing the turn with low equity bluffs. So if they have ace-6, there's some turn betting, they're probably some bluffing they're meant to do. Say if king 5 or something, they're probably meant to bet the turn at some frequency. If they're taking a lot of that to river, okay, the king is a really shit card for king 5 and stuff, but still the line is really overbluffed. I don't know, this texture's like, this is a worse texture than the last one. Like it's a stronger effect than the last one in terms of what it does to the baseline EV, but I still think it's probably winning to call against
I also felt
unknown.
like with lots of like king 10, king 9, they probably will bluff the turn, knowing how they play.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's more like they hit king 7, king 6, king 5 suited. That's still quite a lot of combos. But I think it's enough like ace high, and who knows, maybe they bluff into low pairs or the 7-8, 7-9, stuff like this. I think you can call. Yep. You're usually going to lose in the spot, right? You're understanding that when you call, you lose a lot more than you win. That's normal.
Yeah, in general, I lose much more than I win.
That's poker. When you're facing bets in poker, you're kind of paying a tax to sometimes win the pot. But yeah, like with your out of position 3-bets, go linear, meaning like if you're against this pool, go a bit more linear than the solver, because what they'll probably do is slightly over defend. If they're a reg, and if they're a fish, they might even considerably over defend pre. So you having big cards is just more valuable. You're getting called more often by stuff you dominate. You're playing bigger pots with weak players with good hands. Yeah.
Okay. So, facing half, I wonder if it's a decent hand to raise, but I don't think so. I think I'm gonna be called by all the better hands, and it's just for protection, kind of. And now if they bet again, it's gonna become tricky. It depends on the size, I guess. I think I should call that. They might still have king, queen, ace, king. And I have some outs. Okay, he had spades plus 10. I think he just thinking, I mean, irrelevant here because it worked well, but with his hand, he's supposed to check the turn, no?
Yeah, I mean, these hands can become bets if they're getting called by enough worse and getting folds from better, or both. This hand is so in the middle. It's hard to see how that happens with his sizing. I don't like his sizing. If he went enormous, like maybe there's a chance you fold like a jack with no redraw, or ace 10, king 10, or something like that. So with a really big bet, like maybe it makes some sense as a bluff. And if he was to bet like even smaller, I don't think it's really a value bet. I mean, I don't think he's going to be like a favorite win call. It's probably not a big deal, but no, it's not clear that it's worth reopening for half pot with this hand. It looks like a slight polarization mistake, though I will say it's harder to make a polarization mistake when you've got that much redraw equity and implied odds. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Okay.
Your line on the turn, like you could consider what half pot means from pool. I think it's somewhat of a capsizing. And if I had a hand like 10-9 or something that's like okay to raise at equilibrium as a sort of bluff, I think you probably can raise. Nines is far less good, but you have way less positive blockers, redraw. But I think with something like 10-9, 10-8 here, I'm considering just bomb raising turn and blasting brick rivers, because I think a lot of villain's range is sort of one pair or a draw, or a pair plus a draw. And you can probably do quite well against a non-whale by just like raising turn, smashing river with hands that are a little bit more prosperous than nines. I think nines, I'm okay with calling turn, but just to put that on your radar, if you had a bit more equity, I think you can go for some semi bluff lines with pair plus draw against that. There's a big difference though between 7-9 and nines there. 7-9's a lot better for the purpose.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
But I think Hall's still winning with nines, just about. If he goes much bigger, I think we can start to fold, to be honest, quite easily.
I think this one is probably a fold in theory. Should I reopen this? I'm not going to. I feel I don't need that much protection, given that all the hearts are probably not a big issue. I'm gonna check it down. And now if he bets, it's gonna be interesting. So now I have no interest in betting, but if he had bet the river, I think it might be interesting.
So when you're under the gun, ace 10 is a lot lower in your range and can make a lot more better hands fold in theory than in later positions. So like on the flop here, you're talking about reopen. I don't think this is the right way to frame it. Like you can c-bet this flop small, or you can check in theory. Like either line is fine. The hand has a lot of equity. You're making villain fold better by betting flop. You can fold ace jack, no heart, ace queen, no heart, fives, no heart, things like this. You can just win the pot against a hand that might somehow win the pot against you later. Betting flop is fine. I think they're going to under raise. Therefore, I would just bet flop. If I think they're going to under raise, I'm just going to bet the flop. I'm going to take the more aggressive line. I think they're playing worse against. As played, you should definitely bluff the turn, because on this jack, your showdown value degrades further, your hand becomes lower down in your range, and you are getting a lot of hands that beat you to fold by river. So yes, you have some showdown value, but you also want to weigh up how many better hands and how often you're going to win the pot by betting when you wouldn't by checking. And I think there's a fair amount of villains range that you do win against by betting that you wouldn't by checking, either because they would hit the river and get there, they would bluff you on the river, or you would make them fold better that's just beating you at showdown. I think there's enough of that going on that under the gun this hand is low down in your range that you can bluff flop or turn here.
Yeah, I think I kind of don't think about the fact that I was under the gun enough here.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of played the same as as if I was in a cutoff.
And even if you're cut off, like betting flop is still fine. Like it's a mixed bag
No,
of reasons.
I get it, but and if he bets the river,
you just call because you're facing check bet. You just always call check bet from an like basically any time it's not a giant bet, as long as that's a half pot normal stab B60 B33 B50. You just call with the bluff catcher. You just don't fold to that line because data over millions and millions of hands shows that you make a profit by calling against that line. So there's no reason to deviate from that data approach.
Okay.
It's such an unbalanced spot that there's no reason to consider your blockers, or you may think you've got an instinct. You may think that you have the idea that you won't be bluffed there, but you just win enough. You win enough against that line. People are not putting enough value into that line, and they're putting too many bluffs in. You don't have to put many bluffs into a line like that before you're over bluffing, because you just don't have that much value to support it. People lead their value on the turn. That's basically what's happening. They've not taken grade 2 lecture 5. They've not used code embark25 at carrotcorner.com to learn about the out of position game and the fact that they can go for check raises.
I don't know what that is. I'm not sure. It might be a call. I don't really want to 3-bet that, but I'm gonna fold.
Yeah, I think fold's good. Small blind against early position king 7 is not really playable. I think you can 3-bet actually, probably, without much EV loss, but you know, as we said, like they're not over folding in position, so these hands that rely on fold equity aren't that great. Ace Jack suited is better because it's a big hand playing a big pot, but king 7, there's no reason to do it in the small blind. You can get your hands out of GG Poker Nebraska, you just have to download them and import them and stuff, so we don't have access to them right now, but you can.
Okay, we call. We could have 3-bet, but we didn't. The flop is very dry. I feel this is worth at least a call. We have a backdoor. And he can have, like, I don't know, king, queen. Okay. So now we've got the nuts. Are we supposed to bet? I don't know, actually. Should I deny king, queen, king, jack? Maybe. I don't know. I feel. Maybe. Small equity. I might have a 10 and 8. This is worth the strength of my hand. It feels like the right size. I don't know. It felt right. And now an ace. Am I getting called by worst ever? No. We don't want to build a pot with rake if he has an ace, so I'm going to check. And if he bets, I'm going to have to call, but it's rubbish. We're just giving money to the platform, most likely. No, he didn't. Good.
I mean, if he bets, you're probably just losing, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because your kicker matters, right?
It matters if it's above the 10.
If it's above the 8.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're right.
So ace 9 and stuff beat you.
Yeah, you're right.
And you have to ask, like, what... I mean, maybe you can still call, but, like, I don't know, because what is villain...
You're right.
But for the audience's benefit, you know, what's villain calling turn betting river with? I guess it needs to just be, like, some kind of queen 9 that they found a check on flop with, or... I don't know. King queen or something like that they decided to call turn. Maybe there's enough of it, depends on sizing, but yeah, definitely a spot where villain just has an ace very, very, very often. Turn probe spot's really interesting because the default plays check, but like third can't be too bad. Like it's never too bad to like go for thin value denial third pot out of position. I really don't mind it, and you unblock a lot of the, like if I had You unblock a lot of the king, queen, king, jack type combos, right? That you can value bet against, because they'll call for pair draw, they'll call just because it's third pot in position at some frequency, and if they fold, great. So I don't mind it, and I think you're almost never losing on the turn here. You're usually chopping, but sometimes you're ahead, and when you're ahead, I think bet's going to perform a bit better than check. So I actually quite like the third pot probe here. I think it functions quite well exploitatively, because they're just very bad at putting too many hands into their flop checking range that are losing. Now, I mean, they could have an 8, but it's not super likely. Overpairs, they're really not putting enough overpair in there at all if they're building the checking range. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't mind third pot probe.
Okay.
They might have a counterfeited underpair relatively often as well, and against that, because the hand's drawing just dead, check call's nice, right? It's a good way to play against counterfeited underpair. So then you give up the denial or the whatever against king queen.
Yeah, true.
In theory, you shouldn't really be able to just like probe all your ace-x, because villains should be more protected, but that's exactly the kind of spot you can start to get out of line. Most people who study theory don't probe turn enough against micro stakes and low stakes pools because they don't realize how effective it is.
Okay, so we're gonna call that, and I feel this should be a check fold regardless of the size. We have no backdoors. His early position.
Yeah, definitely calling against button. I think against under the gun half pot, it's okay to fold. Against like button range bet, you're never anywhere near folding there as long as you see the difference, right? I'll just be 1 minute.
Okay. Force. Okay, we're gonna call. Okay. That's a good board. He checks. This is really bad. I'm just gonna hope he bets. And if he bets, I don't know if I should call or raise, actually. Could have Jack 10. He could have a draw. He could be bluffing. I feel I want to just call. But I might be wrong. I think this board, maybe I should bet because this board is much better for my range. And now he overbets. I have to call. I can't raise. I can't really fold. So I'm gonna call. That's why we checked in the first place, right? We don't like the overbet, but that's life. He's got Jack 10. I guess we limited the damages, but I'm not sure. And Pete is not here. And I don't know, but chat, help me analyze this hand. I'm not good enough for it. I don't think I could have lost any less money, so that's what I feel. But did I play it well? That I'm not sure.
All right, let's take a look. What happened here then?
I got opened by cutoff. I called with force. This was the flop. It went check, check, then check call, then check overbet call.
Okay, so what was your thought process for check calling turn?
My thought process was that I was thinking whether I should raise or not, actually. The good point about raising is that some of his draws, I would chase them out or make them pay for their draws. But the bad things about betting is that if he was bluffing, then I'm not making any more money. Really consider that. but he might have, yes.
Okay, so what do you think? Let's hand read a bit here. What do you think population checks back this flop with compared to like what they should check back this flop with?
I mean, it felt like a. I mean, I just had a quick look at his stats, and it felt like a nitty reg. So I think they should check a lot on that flop. I mean, it's like the flop you should check a lot in my mind.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna do that. I might be wrong, but I feel like this is the flop. When they tell you some flops you don't have to see bet or you shouldn't see bet, this is like the flop you would put in your class.
Yeah, it's true. But still, they can't help but a lot of people in pool can't help but see bet flush draws and overpairs and 10-9 and hands that just have equity because they just like to bet. They are not skilled poker players. You're giving them too much credit. So yes, this is a flop that villain can range check if you don't build a donking range near enough. But for every reg that knows that and checks close to range, there will be 3 that just bet jacks because it's jacks, or 10-9 because it's 10-9, or flush draws. So the checking range is grossly underprotected, although it will have some overpairs in it on this board, and it will have some hands like ace 4, 4, 5, ace 5, stuff with a 10, stuff with a jack. I just bet the turn because I think if they have this merged, condensed range of something with a 10, something with a 5, 2 big cards, they don't have that many natural bluffs here. And if they have king jack or queen jack or something, they're going to call a bet a lot of the time anyway. If they have king 10, ace 10,
how much do you bet?
They're going to call a bet anyway. I would bet like big, but not like overbet in this spot. Overbet's probably right in theory, because in theory they have a lot of overpair still and 10s and stuff like this. I might go a bit smaller against this pool, like maybe just under pot, because I feel like I don't know, overbet's probably still fine. Like, it's probably still fine. But yeah, I'd probably just go something big. Check raises, the problem with check raises, I think there's just a lot of hands in pool's range that will check the turn, that would have called a bet. And I like just making sure the pot grows against what is a very passively played node. This node is insanely passively played by pool. I don't like going for a check raise in a really passively played node, and I definitely don't like going for a check call because I just don't see loads of bluffing and loads of value betting with worse on river. And like, if you do check the turn and face bet here, I think you just have to check raise. You have the best hand every time they don't have jack 10. Jack 10 is somewhat likely to bet the flop if they're not the sort of reg that checks everything, and often they won't be. I would check raise the turn as played. Just try and get more money in against the 9. They can have like king 9 and stuff like this here. It's another hand you just want to bet against or check raise against. Quite a lot of their range actually is ace 9, king 9, something like that. If they have a draw, you want to check raise. If they have 6s that's merging, you want to check raise. If they have 2 pair randomly, check raise is good. There's just so many hands check raise is good against here, and I just don't think you're getting enough money in the pot with 4s by check calling turn. I just don't think we can do that.
Okay. And then on the river, I guess it doesn't really relevant.
They bet 15.
No, but first of all, like, I mean, I checked again on the river. Should I don't know.
I think checking the river's fine because like they're still going to value bet now with ace 9 or something a lot of the time, and they're going to bluff sometimes, and you've kind of made your bed by check calling the turn. Like, you've not gone down the road where you're able to take a check raise turn bomb river line. Like, that's not possible anymore. So just going for a check raise on river against a normal bet size is good. Against the overbet, you could ask, like, how am I doing now if I check raise and get called? You're doing worse. I definitely think river is less clearly a check raise than turn was. When they pick that sizing, they're kind of saying they have 2 pair plus, I would think, on this node. And against 2 pair plus, like, they haven't bet flop. So I just don't think there's a lot of 7-8. And it's cut off, so they're not going to have like 9-7 suited always, or 9-4, or 7-4, or 8-4. This is not that much 2 pair. And they have 16 jack 10 combos. So I do think they're moving towards 2 polar over range for you to raise river, actually, if we're honest about this. because I don't think one pair is going to overbet river and bet call, and I don't think there's enough two pair and there's no worse sets. So there really isn't that target range for you to check raise against here, against this sizing. But against the smaller sizing, river's a clear check raise. But I like check call as played here. But I kind of agree with some of chat that you've fumbled your way to losing the minimum in this hand a little bit, because we should be getting a way to get more money in than check call on turn. Check call on turn is the thing I'm really not happy with here. Everything else is fine.
So now let's say I check raise the river and I don't know, he 4-bets, we're just putting the money in, right?
If you check raise the river,
the turn.
if you check raise the turn and he 3-bets you, you might get very freaked out. The villain has Jack 10 now, and you might call and try and mine a boat and check fold the river if you think it's that underbluffed the line. Like, your hand is becoming very close to a bluff catcher in that line. It depends on sizing.
And now let's say we check raise the turn, and the same river comes. We are leading the river, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if we get raised, we fold?
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's just going to be such a underbluff spot, an unbluffed spot. I think so, yeah. The main advantage to check raising turn is just that all those draws that are going to brick and give up river at high frequency, you make another big bet from them on all the rivers where they with, and all the 9x and pair plus draw, like all the 10-9 and shit like that, all the ace-9 of clubs, you just make more money from it. And you might make more money from just like naked queens or naked jacks or ace-9 sometimes as well by check raising turn. But I do think leading turn is better, because you just want to play your value hands aggressively on wet boards where pool's going to be too passive. You don't really want to be taking lines that rely on them betting, because this is an under-invested node from their point of view, right? So you don't really want to rely on that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty, especially when I appreciate the fact that you tell me wrong when what I did was right on the hand.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you did lose the
chat
minimum.
Couldn't do, because everybody in the chat was saying, "Oh yes, your line was fine."
Everyone in chat was like, "I would have lost more. You're a god, Christoph. You're a
No, that's the
bloody
point.
god,
They were
mate."
not like they were. Oh, I cannot see anything wrong with that line. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, they were like, "I can't look past the fact that you lost the minimum, mate. Yeah, good job." Shame on you, chat. Shame on you.
I can't fold a set on the turn. Yes, that I am aware. Ace-9 against 3. So I have no idea what 3 means, but probably it's his normal size. But now I don't know. Should I call a c-bet? I don't know. This I really don't know. I feel like I would fold, but the answer is that I should call, but I don't know. And now I'm just gonna give up. Should I bluff? Should I bluff? Should I transform it to a bluff? I think I'm beating a lot of his give up, so I'm not gonna bluff, but maybe I should.
Oh. Wow. Oh my god.
What? What note should we write for this guy? What is the note?
Doesn't deserve to even install the poker client.
Okay, the call on the flop.
It's losing.
Yes.
It's losing in theory. It's too big a c-bet. The hand's too dead. Like, try and think of it this way. The drawier the board is, the worse it is to call ace high no redraw. The bigger the sizing it is, the worse it is to call ace high no redraw. So if you have a board of like 5-5 deuce, calling ace 10 to a c-bet of this size is like kind of mandatory, or ace 9 is even okay. But when the board is jack 6-5 or king 8-7, calling ace 9 is a lot worse, because the caliber of outs that you have with one pair on a really disconnected board is higher, and the caliber of your outs with one pair on a drawier board that can turn into 3 straight, 4 straight, etc. in many different ways is worse. So the way to understand this is that with just one over to the jack, You just don't have enough quality or quantity of outs to make that call. But you would if it was deuce 4, and you could call king queen on jack 6-5 because you'd
Yeah.
have better quality and quantity of outs. Less about ace high because it's hard to realize on these nodes, and more about quality and quantity of pair outs. How good are the pair outs? How good are they likely to be by the river? That's how I think about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I have a theory about this guy. He's watching the stream and he just wanted to talk about the hands, knowing his hand. And he knew I was going to fold, so that's why he didn't bet.
Ah, yeah. Come out the shadows now, villain. Let us know if it's you. I don't know though. You do see that shit sometimes, and yeah, it kind of. I think it triggers like a sort of I am angry on behalf of humankind reaction. I'm angry on behalf of like anyone that's ever tried to play poker well. Ex-mate poker says it's me. Do we believe him? Or her? Do we believe this person? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. It'd be funny if every single person in this pool was watching the Carrot Corner stream.
It wouldn't be funny for me. I mean, it can't go worse than that, so... Okay, 8 against a fish with queen 10. It's tempting. I'm in position, it's not so big. I shouldn't, but it's... I don't know if I shouldn't. I'm not going to, maybe I should.
Yeah, I think fold is fine. I mean, it's a very dominated hand, and Fisher 3-betting. They're more likely to 3-bet you with like king queen off than they are with sevens in that spot. They're going to call sevens a lot. So the way they build their range, I don't really like calling queen 10 off.
So you suggested raising with queen 8. So I'm gonna do it with king 8. Maybe that's too strong now, but...
No, it's fine because the hand's really unplayable, right? Like it doesn't sacrifice much EV in terms of its playability. So these hands are always fine. As Easty would say, treat yourself to a 3-bet. Yeah.
I see that you have very high quality references.
Mm-hmm. Easty 2024 10NL Challenge, 10th of March. Should you bluff the river with ace 9? You know, it is interesting to consider like an overbet there or something. If I'm going to bluff the river with ace 9, I'm going to go very big because I only want to do it if I think I'm causing like a overfold against the capped range, because I think check is the theoretical line with that much showdown value. But it's very possible if you overbet the river or something that they just don't have enough jack, they don't have enough hands that are going to be able to call, that they're going to have ace queen etc low pair far too often, that they're going to grossly overfold. So I do think, like, despite the fact that it would have been embarrassing as hell to do it there against the queen jack, it's probably an okay play. But it's an exploit.
He might have folded given what he thought of his hand.
Yeah. How different does it play in Russian cash compared with regular tables? Asks Mark. On regular table, I'll 100% fold versus the fish here, as I will get better opportunities to get his money. You might not. Because other regs, there's 4 other people at the table, and they might stack them. If you're in a plus EV spot against the recreational, you should take the spot in cash. There's no reason, unless you're playing heads up and you're sure that profitable opportunities are definitely coming really soon. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me to pass on anything plus EV. The thing with the queen 10 is it's probably not plus EV, given the strength of their range there and how they build it, and how hard it'll be for us to realize. And yeah, it's just probably not a winning call. But I mean, you should focus less on stuff like that and more on just getting good at figuring out what's winning and what's not, and take spots that are winning, because there's other people at the table that are going to get the next spot with the fish. No, it's not profitable. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you're putting the cart before the horse. So write to me, pete@carrotcorner.com, if you want to be the star of season 3 of Coaching Journeys, the pre-recorded YouTube series. We record an episode a week. We do it for 10 weeks or something. We try and bring you from hopelessly lost, floundering poker player to competent, confident winner. That's the goal.
I think this is a 3-bet in theory. I feel this is too weak to call. From memory. I might be wrong. But I'm gonna...
Yep, you're 100% correct. Jesus is like, it's that magical sweet spot between like blockers good enough, hand good enough to 3-bet, calls meh. Yep. Maybe not like totally hopeless before, but we don't want to take on someone that's already crushing or something like that. Like that's hardly anyone watching this, so let's be fair. Like it's rare.
I'm looking forward to that. I really like the series with Mark. My student is a station. I remember that phrase. It resonated. And I
That's a
laughed
good
lot.
title, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like today's thumbnail, Christoph? Did you see it?
Yes, I saw it. I like your thumbnails overall.
It's kind of like a proud dad being like, that's it. Like, you know, your son's in the bouncy castle at the kids' party, and you're like, yeah,
I wonder if, given this guy, I should call this. I'm gonna do it. I'm not sure, but I'm getting bored, which is never a good reason, but maybe. Should I bet for protection? This guy probably has nothing. I don't know about this guy. I don't want to be check raised, but I don't have any redraws. I think maybe betting is good actually. Because this guy can call with a 9. Okay, but now we're done. Now it's bye-bye. I don't know if the bet was good. You're gonna tell me.
Yeah, I think the bet is good. I don't believe that Nelly is going to protect their checking range that well on the flop, although, like, okay, some regs are going to range check there, but again, some people aren't. And most importantly, I don't think people are going to play very aggressively against you when you bet multi-way there. I don't think people are going to be check raising enough bluffs, and you do have some backdoor redraw to nutted stuff. You have a vulnerable pair, you benefit from fold equity. There's a lot of ways you lose this hand by checking, even when you have the best hand, right? And especially when you get sucked out on. So betting and getting this fold equity from 2 villains is very, very useful. And if you get called, you survive, and it's only third pot. I think betting's clearly the right play on the flop. I think it's better than checking by far. I think against passive pools, you just should push all these spots, all these optional bets where you have thin value denial and some backdoor good stuff going on. I just make the small bet. I think it's better.
And what about the call pre-flop?
It's a little loose. It's probably, if you knew Big Blind was horrendous, like 50 VPIP or something, you can probably do it. I wouldn't do it just with the information you had there.
Okay. And to answer Mark, no, I was pointing at Nelly when I said he probably has nothing. I agree that the big blind was the guy who might have had something.
There's Macker Hacker in the chat, the OG. There he is. OG season 1, end boss. Your hero, Christoph.
Am I?
Well, Macker Hacker was your hero, right? That's Mark from season 1.
Oh yeah. Of course, my hero. I don't know, but it might be another statement. Let's say that you were my hero. You, Pete, are my hero.
Mark is the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed poker student whose eyes we all see the world through. Let's face it. He is the protagonist in our hearts.
I feel I can do a lot here, but I think that check is probably better, but I'm not sure. And now, the ace. He's donking on the ace. I can't really fold, but I'm going to call. But if he barrels again,
so why is check probably better on flop?
because Because I'm scared of check raise. That's it. There is no good reason.
Your fears are running amok today, man. You had these under control when you were playing a bit more poker, but now you've gone into your running phase. You've come back, and your demons
No,
are
because
all...
we talked about it earlier. This is okay. The 10 is probably good for me, but it's still. My guess is that GTO wise, this is not a pure bet. I might be wrong, but my feeling is that this is not a pure bet.
But you're again taking a passive line with a vulnerable strong value hand against the fish. Looks like a fish. I would always take the bet line when I've got a hand that will often want 3 streets. Now, it won't always. There's some runouts, there's plenty of runouts it doesn't. But there's plenty of runouts where you do want to bet flop and turn. Or flop, at least. And this is a hand where I would rush the value, because one, you might want a really big pot. The investment ceiling might stay really high if it runs out 3 deuce, you know? And if it doesn't run out 3 deuce, you might want the fold. If it's going to come a king, you want the fold on the flop, because King X is folding a lot of the time on the flop. So on the runouts where it's low, you want to play a very big pot here for value. That's very important to your EV. And on the runouts where it's high, you actually welcome the flop fold. So against the fish here, you don't want to take a line that relies on them bluffing and relies on them improving when you've got a vulnerable hand that loses to improvement. And you've got a very thick value hand. So you should prioritize value betting in pot growth against the fish, not pot control.
Okay. Agree.
Like, if you're playing a solver, you can check the flop, because like sometimes it will go really big with a 10 for value on the turn. It'll go really big with certain bluffs on the turn. It'll put enough money in maybe to compensate. But even then, if there's a hand that's a pure bet, it's jacks in late position.
Okay, so I have a note that this guy auto folds big blind, which usually represents not being so good. I think he's gonna connect a lot, so I'm debating between 82 and 150. Okay, probably wouldn't have matter. Maybe I should overbet this because it's gonna struggle to fold, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I like a big bet exploitatively. There's a lot of stuff that won't react properly here. Like if you big bet here, Queen 8 is a pure fold, and they're not going to find that. So I like it. I don't think the fact he auto folds big blind makes him particularly more likely to connect to the flop. I think it's just more of a pre-flop breed that you would use to steal wider. I wouldn't really use it on the flop there. I think his calling range will be similar
No,
enough.
I agree, but it gives that's the only elements I had, so...
I spend more time just focusing on what are they going to do wrong against the big bet. Well, they're going to call too much, like on the really wet boards, they need to fold like second pair no redraw to big bets, and that's the thing they'll struggle to do, because their pattern is just like call second pair.
But what do you mean by big bet?
75, 80, whatever.
Okay, but I was debating 75 or 150.
Yeah, I think both are good. I think 150 is also good with that hand against Pool. Yeah. The thing is, if you go 75, they'll probably raise a lot of 2-pair as well. If you go 150, they won't, but you still get loads of money in. Yeah, I don't mind either. I think overbet's also good. Yep.
So this one, I like to check, but you're telling me to bet, so I'm going to bet. Just for denial, I guess. I guess I'm only betting for denial, which feels rubbish. Now I really don't think I should bet. And now when he bets, I wish I hadn't bet the flop. Okay, I'm gonna fold that one.
Yeah, I do like bet on flop. Like, you're putting in hardly any money, and you're winning the pot lots of the time when you wouldn't by checking. And that's not just because villain ends up getting there, it's also because he bets and you fold sometimes too. So the small bet with a hand that could turn into a set or a straight and likes fold equity, and where you're not going to get check raised enough, right? You might not like getting check raised, but it is happening less than at equilibrium against the fish. You should just make the small bet. And then when you've got queens, you can check, give them the free card to hit second pair or third pair, and let them bluff, because you can always make it to showdown now and you can handle that. But with fours, I like betting. That's the way to exploit the fact that they're too passive on flop.
Yeah.
Just try to give less weight to the stuff you don't like and try to be more objective with like the advantages.
I'm going to fold, and I think it's right 3-way, but I'm not sure.
Did you even check his data during coaching to check c-bet frequency? There may be an issue. We've actually not done like a stats report in a while. Christoph's not played that many hands at 50. Been a while since we did that, but it could be a worthwhile thing to look at. But I would wager that, yeah, the c-bet stat is too low. But I like to think we're treating that today by like looking at the spots where we could be c-betting more, and then the stat will take care of itself. Like I used to do a lot of stat review back in the early days of coaching, and now I do like a quick check over, and I spend most of my time on thought process logic, the way the student's thinking. These days, I find it's more effective than saying, oh, look, this stat's too low, go fix it, because then you don't know why you're doing it. You don't know where you should do it. You just have this general sense I need to drive a stat up. It's not really the best way to coach in my experience.
So I will say, although you won't like me saying that, or maybe you will, but the phrasing of this sentence, did you even check his data? It's not very nice.
I agree.
Do you think checking his bet frequency data would be a good way of improving his blah blah blah?
Are you
That's
trying
a
to
nice way of
teach? Are
framing-
you trying to teach them social skills, Christoph?
I feel for you. I know you put so much effort into that, and I hate when I see
Mate, my
people that
skin
are
is
not-
like leather. They can't touch me these days. I'm literally a leather-skinned, grumpy old git. What are they gonna do to me with their rude phrasing?
Yeah. I know you need to appear very strong on stream, but I know that deep down, when the stream turns off and you go back to your bedroom, it's hard.
I cry. No, if they catch me at the wrong time, and you know, it's like some comments do just like get through your armor for whatever reason, and they catch you when you're like ill or weak or tired, or your son's kept you up all night because he was screaming. I don't know. Like there's definitely a world where they get to you more than they should, and it's variance. But like this one, this is not going to be one of those comments. Don't worry. Maybe, and sometimes they don't even mean it. Their English isn't their first language, and they just don't phrase it like quite how they mean to.
Come on. Not a good excuse. English is not my first language.
Mm.
So here I'm a bit treating it the same now. I'm just betting one and just see what happens. I don't know if that's
I like
correct.
it. I like it. Yeah. I shouldn't comment during the hand, but like this is never going to be bad against this pool. But think about what happens next if you get a call.
Now I think that I should fold.
So if you got a call there, it would mean that they are more capped than usual because you went really small. And, you know, if you turn anything at all, and maybe even if you don't, you could consider tripling or doubling.
Okay.
So you turn like a wheel card there and they've not raised flop. They're going to have less king X than if you went bigger on flop. They'll still have a king, of course, sometimes, but the smaller you go on flop, the weaker the calling range is, the more incentivized they are to fast play their good stuff. And yeah, you can take pure bluff lines later in spots that might just be optional in theory.
Yeah, probably I don't. I mean, definitely I don't do that enough.
Yeah. So the implications of a line when you embark on a strategy, you always want to think about the implications of that. You're forging the game tree, you know, like you're forging a path through the game tree. This is what I'm doing in Modern Master Plan. I'm saying, look, these flops have come. They're very common. We're going to play 2x pot or check. And that means that on the flop, right, when you're in position on button and you're playing 2x pot check, you're checking like 70% of the time, right? So 7 times out of 10, you're going to a turn node where they're either going to probe or you're going to get a delayed c-bet opportunity. 3 times out of 10, you're going to bet the flop, and like 75% of the time you bet the flop for 2x pot, they're going to fold on a lot of these textures, right? Because they're unfavorable. So you actually, I figured this out, you actually get to a turn node where flop went check, check, like 9 times more often than you get to one where you're double barreling. So that's why in my course I'm building, when you play that hyperpolarized flop strategy on a lot of boards, not all boards, you're actually mastering the turn nodes. You're making the battleground spots the turn spots after check, check, and you're getting very good at that. You're crafting a game tree that frequently puts you in X, and then you're getting really good at X. Meanwhile, they're not used to X because everyone range bets. They're not used to going to the turn, facing delayed c-bets, having to probe. They don't know how to play these spots. So you absolutely can, in the modern day, forge a strategy that's sound in theory, that takes people away from what they're used to seeing. Meanwhile, you've been working on exactly that. That's your lab. That's what you've been studying. So that's the sort of premise. And when you go one big blind, you create another version of that where like they have to play the range that's uber capped at just called the one big blind. And then you study that. You study exploits, data, theory. If you want to do it all, if you're making poker your main thing, you study all of that shit. Anyway, I'm rambling. King check.
And I guess you're calling it uber capped when it doesn't have to be. It's just exploitative already when you said that they're uber capped. It's like checking behind with a strong hand. I think in theory they're supposed to call some very strong hands. Right?
Yeah, it depends on the board. Like especially on like paired boards, monotone flops, stuff like this, where there's like a clear, obvious nutted hand. Like they're meant to slow play a lot there. Because the nutted hands will block calling ranges and slow playing will just be a fine way of getting value and blah blah blah, right? But on dry boards, they are not meant to slow play a set, for example. So it's very texturally sensitive. But yes, absolutely, I'm definitely talking about one, the fact that they will be more capped than they should be in certain boards, and two, the fact that when they get to the next node, they don't realize that they're more capped because they had only one big blind to call, and they don't realize that they now need to call more second pairs and stuff like that on turn.
Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to comment on this one. I'm not sure if I did right things. But...
Button opened, we called big blind, check. We probe the turn. Yeah, I think this is fine. Like they're going to be underprotected here. Then you bet the river out. It's a really good line by you. Yeah, I like it. I think they're going to be folding a good clip here to this line. And yeah, sometimes they fold worse than you on the river. Like they had Jack 10 or something. But the thing to understand is, like, you're going to lose by checking to that a lot of the time as well. So when you bet river here, all that really matters is it's getting through enough in data. And it is, because their line is weak. And this is a decent fold equity texture and line. And they have a lot of ace high that's going to call turn fold river. And they have a lot of other stuff that maybe you're ahead of, but it's still going to fold river. And you're not going to win against it necessarily by checking. So I think bet's good here. Yep. Good job.
Okay.
And theoretically there, you're over bluffing, right? You're betting a hand that's got some sliver of showdown and like probably the wrong blockers and all of this. And you're betting it twice, so you're way over bluffing. They should just call you here with a load of ace high, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to overfold ace high, and I think that's what makes it good.
Yeah, on the river, I don't expect them to call ace high.
Exactly, and they have to, right? Because a lot of their range is ace high for landing on river, and you've only bet 2/3 pot or whatever, so they need to be defending more than half of their landing range on river, and they're not. They're probably folding half of it or something.
And I think they're right to fold most of the time because the fool doesn't bluff enough.
That's a spot where when they bet turn and then they bet river and nothing really changes, they probably are over bluffing that node. But in general, yeah, I agree. I think after 1/3 and then river bet on that node, pool probably is slightly over bluffing, at least.
I don't know if that's a good candidate for bet bluff. It's tempting. It lacks aces and kings, I guess. We would prefer ace 5. I really want to do it. And I'm not going to do it. Am I allowed?
I don't think it's bad, actually. I don't actually think it's bad. I think it's probably like slightly losing in theory, perhaps, but probably not by much. And people do fold to 4-bets a good amount, or they call and fold post flop. I think 4-bet's always a line that overperforms in games like this. If you're on the fence about 4-betting like a mix, especially when you're in position, I think 4-betting that mix is a good way to go.
Okay, I think ace king is really a hand I want to shove because I'm happy to get the fold equity, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
GG Poker, this is free money for you. Take it.
Yep. Sad times. But look, a golden table to reward you straight after.
Yeah.
And aces.
Amazing. Oh,
Fives, I mean. This is
But he's
good.
gonna go all in and I'm gonna fold. Okay, this I can call. This I can call. Maybe I should go all in. Check folding. Am I? I feel that it's really rare that people are going to slow play this. I'm gonna check because I don't have time, but I'm wondering if it's not a spot where I should try to steal it. I mean, I'm saying steal it, but actually I'm ahead of all the hands that are gonna fold probably. So if I'm betting, it's probably for protection. And this guy might be thinking just that, I should steal it. But now he can have a 7 or 8. I don't know. I'm gonna fold, but this is a bit hard for me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I think the main thing about this board is it's hyper connected, so you don't get to lead to protect equity small as much in boards that are easier to hit, because like people have draws that end up winning against you some way by calling. Again, that can be because they improve or because they bet and you fold later, and they have more hands like a 7 there, and they'll be less inclined to bet a 7 or an 8 themselves because the board is a bit scary, but they're still going to call that to your small bet. So if this was like Jack Deuce Deuce and it checked round in the splash pot like this, I would absolutely lead the turn, because like the odds that anyone has a Jack and is playing it that way are tiny, and it's just a really wide range spot. And I think you have the best of it really often, and the best way to play when you have the best of it very often, when a spot where no one's gonna like start bluffing like mad, is just to bet your hand and get all the useful fold equity. So I think this board's maybe slightly too wet for it, but I like the fact that you're, you know, hungry for denial there. It's a very denial rich spot in general. When this guy bets, okay, they check flop. I mean, that's not too bad a thing to do in this situation. There's 2 fish still to act. I can see slow playing and checking flop being okay with sets 2 pair over pairs and just going for check raise against those stats. That said, is a bit weird. And then when he bets turn big, I'm a little suspicious. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure I'm suspicious enough to call 5s though at these stakes. I'm a little suspicious. Yeah. I do think we're getting like rando bluffed by quite a lot of combos there sometimes, but then again, it's a scary board. It's 4-way. He could have just bet flop to stab. Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced by my own suspicion there. I think it's just like mild suspicion.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I felt.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up in a minute. We'll play one more orbit or so. Thank you for joining us today, YouTube and Twitch. It's been great to have you here. Don't forget, there's more from me on Carrot Corner. Lots of professional poker content, and code EMBARK25. That's EMBARK25, top link in the description. Will save you 25% off if it is time to embark on that formal poker education. I need to go buy some duck food and chicken food, some corn, some pygmy goat mix, that sort of shit.
When you said chicken food, is food to give your chicken, not food to cook with your chicken.
Correct.
It's for city people like me, sometimes it can be confusing.
Absolutely. I'm always confused as to why we have ducks and chickens and goats. I still don't quite understand it. It's just an annoying bug in my life. Not a feature, it's a bug. It's like, oh, there's these stupid creatures I have to go and take care of every morning. Like, God.
I think this is worth a c-bet for denial. I'm often ahead. And
you can bluff later too. Like if button calls, like what do they normally have? Like they just have a pocket pair, right? So like a 10 comes on the turn, you've got 2 outs to a boat, you just bomb the turn, they're gonna fold a ton of their range. So like you can keep your eyes open for future bluffing there. I have a mini farm, I guess. We have goats, chickens, ducks, dogs, cats. Yeah, I wouldn't call it a fully fledged farm, but we've got some creatures kicking about.
I want to play that hand in position against that guy, but probably not in a 3-bet pot when I will be dominated too often. I like having this guy, so I'm gonna call, not convinced. And this guy might squeeze, but okay. Interesting flop. I think it's worth at least a call. But I might very well be drawing dead. I mean, close to dead. Okay, now I think I'm ahead often. If he has a jack, I'm ahead. I think we can do a very small value bet. I don't think he's going to be capable of raising. So I'm going to keep value betting very small.
What an absolute beast. Look at that. Blood from a stone extracted. I would 3-bet pre, because just like, don't worry about domination. Like, it works both ways. Like, there's some hands he'll call that you dominate, there's some hands that dominate you. What matters is what's going to happen. Like, what will happen next if he calls your 3-bet. Well, first, if he folds your 3-bet, fantastic, right? You've king jack off, amazing. If he calls your 3-bet, you'll be in position, he'll be a fish, the flop will come something, sometimes you'll hit and you'll have a really big hand still, even though it's a 3-bet pot. And if you don't hit, you'll bet a lot and he'll fold a lot. So it's going to be, because he's going to under 4-bet as a recreational, there is no punish for 3-betting king jack. The punish comes from regs that 4-bet you a lot in these configurations. That's where you need to be careful with this hand. But this hand is theoretically optional. It's okay to 3-bet equilibrium, and therefore I just want to 3-bet the big cards in position against the fish. Definitely. I want to isolate the fish. I don't want to share the fish with other fish. I want to be heads up. I have the kind of hand that thrives heads up. I'm very happy 3-betting. On flop, call is good. On turn, I think you maybe forgot about like kings and queens here. These are like some other hands that beat you that do play this way a lot. I don't know if you forgot about those or not, but they're definitely relevant to some extent.
You're correct. You are correct.
Yeah.
You are fully correct.
That doesn't mean that you can't bet the turn, but the reason I wouldn't bet the turn is that you aren't very vulnerable at all. In fact, you share a card with like king, queen and stuff like that. A villain has like 1 overcard king to the jack, like you want him to hit that. You don't mind. Yeah, I just don't think that you're very vulnerable at all, and I don't think you've got a very high investment ceiling. And when that's the case, it's sort of a free roll to just let him bluff the river, to just check back and let him take 5-4 and bet the river. It's a bit of a free roll, and you can still value bet the river again. Like you could check back the turn here, and when he checks the river, then you can bet both your turn sizing and your river sizing all in one go, and you can make the same amount of money from queen jack, but give him the open door to bluff the river, given that you're not harvesting fold equity by betting turn. You want to bet turn if you need the denial, and or you have a high investment ceiling that you need to start building towards. When neither of those things is true, that's to say you don't need the denial and you don't have a high investment ceiling, you may as well leave the door open to check. To bluff. Are they going to bluff the river? Maybe, maybe not, who knows, but you leave the door open. It's another way to win. It's another way to make money. You know, you bid 5 clubs over 4 spades because they sometimes bid 5 hearts. Sorry, because they sometimes bid 5 spades and go off. That sacrifice is winning. If that wasn't possible, maybe it wouldn't be worth making the sacrifice. It's like, are they going to bluff the river? Yeah, usually not, but when they do, you're very happy that you gave yourself that other way to win against their range.
Yeah, I guess, and again, that's I don't know if that's right or not, but somehow the fact that it was 3-way makes me think that they're gonna bluff less often already on the flop. Also, it was a very tiny bet, so it could very well be a bluff. I agree, but it's just gonna be a bluff less often when it's 3-way.
Yep, but I think it's not. I don't think it's close. So I think it's so clearly better to check turn that even if it's a bluff a bit less often, that's just not really a gain by betting turn. Like what you gained here, you could have gained by checking back turn and just betting the river anyway for a bit bigger. Like you didn't actually gain much here by betting the turn against this hand. because you could have got it all in one go on the river if they check again or whatever.
It is correct when he has queen jack, but if he has, I don't know, tens, 9, 8s, 7s,
You can still bet the
maybe that's
river.
not- And you think you
Like I think he's more likely to check call a river bet than a turn bet with 9s. Although I think 9s might, like, you can go small, or you can just check and then bet slightly bigger on river. I think you're getting similar EV, honestly, against those hands.
yeah, okay.
I'm just focusing on, like, what's the part of their range that's sensitive to our line. Queen Jack is not that sensitive to our line. All roads lead to Rome. 9s is not that sensitive to our line. Maybe you could argue betting turns slightly better in case the river's a king. Whatever, it's not a big deal. If they have 6-5, they're very sensitive to our line. If we bet, we get 0 ever. If we check, we get some amount of big blinds on river and EV.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. Right, let's wrap this up. I think you've played better and better as the session's gone on. You become more confident, more sure. There's a common phenomenon in poker called paralysis, where we are just paralyzed cognitively because we're in a game where we don't want to lose, where losing is kind of annoying, and we can see that losing might happen, and we get a bit paralyzed. And at the start of the session, I think we were in that mode a bit. We were like focusing on all the monsters under the bed again, and all of that, all the bad habits were coming out. And then we settled into the session, the gears got oiled up, we began to use our brain, relax. And that's when you play your really good poker, is when you use your brain and you relax and you're curious and you explore. Not paralyzed, the opposite of paralyzed, really. So when you're playing this week, next week, as you're getting back into it a bit, just ask yourself, how can I create that state of being relaxed? Like, what is it I need to do to just like go into that mode where I'm not a deer in the headlights, but I'm like the predator rather than the prey? I think try and get into that mindset as much as you can. It's more fun as well.
Yeah, it is. But it's funny when we talk about bridge, I tell you exactly the same thing, and you know how hard it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I know.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
it is
yeah.
hard. It is hard
That's
because when you perceive yourself as prey, you can't act otherwise, right? And like at the bridge table against the good players that you tell me are shit, and they are compared to you, but like I see myself as this like deer in the headlights as well. And when you have that self-image, you're like, well, I'm a deer. Like, what am I meant to do? I'm just a deer. Like, how can I do anything? Like, of course I'm gonna be eaten. I'm a deer. And as soon as you realize that you're not a deer, you're like, oh wait, they're making mistakes. I can now see their mistakes. But you go on about how I don't see people's mistakes when I'm in that mode, and it's the same thing. You're like, oh, they're gonna check range on this flop because they're meant to check range here. It's like, no, look at their mistakes. They're not protecting it enough. They're still betting jacks too much on 7-6-4. Yeah. But you got there towards the end and you settled in, and that's it. So that's the difference between you playing your B+ game and you playing your D- game.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right, chat. You know what to do. carrotcorner.com, code Embark25. Don't be a sucker. Don't miss out on discounts. Embark25, top link description. See you guys soon for more content.